On Twitter recently, I was asked why my favorite comic book superhero, James Buchanan Barnes, is my favorite Marvel hero. In fact, why is he such a great character to begin with? And I answered that it's way, way, way too complicated to try to explain through tweets, so I'm going to do it with a medium I'm much more comfortable with a video. So, let's get started. Bucky Barnes is one of Marvel's oldest characters. Not their oldest character, but he's among the oldest. He was in the very first chapter of Captain America comics, and he was a mainstay of the story even well after he got killed off retroactively in the 60s, though it took place in the 40s. Comics are weird. So here's the thing. Bucky has become a current fan favorite. People love the crap out of this guy these days, and most people attribute it almost entirely to the character of the Winter Soldier. Even before the film Captain America: The Winter Soldier came out, when I would tell people Bucky was my favorite, they assumed it was because of Ed Brubaker's phenomenal comic book, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. But, honestly, no, that's not the reason I like him. Here's the thing, Bucky has been around for a long time, and by comic book standards, the identity of the Winter Soldier has not. The Winter Soldier is a relatively recent idea. I mean, he's not Kamala Khan new, but he's more recent than, let's say, Deadpool or Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. The thing about Bucky is that well before Brubaker made him the Winter Soldier, Bucky was a total badass. And as far as Robin knockoffs go, that's pretty admirable. Let's get this straight. Bucky was introduced in Captain America Comics #1, which was released in 1941, to be Cap's kid sidekick, a trend which had really started in Batman and Robin and continued on to almost every other superhero book at the time. But even for the standards of the teen sidekicks of the era, Bucky was pretty hardcore. He's always smashing stuff or helping Cap fight off Nazis. In the retconned 40s adventures from the 1960s Stan Lee run, you get even more of this. Oh my god, Bucky was an incredibly helpful and really fun character. While Steve was very straight-laced and always taking the whole Captain America thing incredibly seriously, Bucky was bringing that lightheartedness while still bringing a healthy dose of badassery, the kind of badassery you wouldn't really see in Dick Grayson until really his Nightwing years. And speaking of Batman, even Batman likes Bucky. Take a look at this. Back when DC and Marvel were a lot cooler and weren't always trying to be huge dickheads to each other, there was in fact a Batman meets Captain America storyline wherein they switch sidekicks, and Batman gets along with Bucky just fine. It's frickin' phenomenal. But like I said, what's with the whole dead Bucky thing? How long was dead Bucky even a thing? Well, as I also said, Bucky was in Captain America comics from the very first issue. But when the Marvel Universe as we know it was founded, which was after the Fantastic Four, so 1963 onward, Stan Lee really wanted to bring Captain America back to the fold, but he hated kid sidekicks. So he decided, you should kill off Bucky. This way, Stan wouldn't have to deal with those kid sidekicks he hates so much, and Steve Rogers would have the death of his partner constantly haunting his conscience. That's right, Bucky's death equaled serious drama. And maybe that's part of what made the character appealing for so long. A lot of the people reading Captain America's more recent Avengers 4 onward adventures weren't seeing Bucky in the context of knowing Bucky from wartime. They were seeing the character as he was idealized by Steve, who was suffering what some would describe as the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Following up Bucky was almost impossible, and several characters tried to do it, and they all met either embarrassing or really tragic fates. Jack Monroe met probably the worst of those fates, at the hands of, well, Bucky. Which brings us to the comic book, The Winter Soldier. Captain America Winter Soldier is probably the best Captain America story in the entire over 70-year run of this character. And let me tell you, especially when you look at some of the recent Cap stuff, it looks even better. Bucky is turned into more than just Cap's cool sidekick. He's given an extra layer of badassery. It's implied that he was basically special forces sent in to do the stuff that Steve didn't necessarily want to get his hands dirty doing during the campaign in Europe. Of course, he fell into the ocean when they tried to stop Zemo, and the Russians found him, turning him into the Winter Soldier. This builds on that whole theme of dead Bucky equals tragedy by giving you the inverse of, oh my god, a live Bucky might be more tragic. Following the comic book version of Civil War, poor Steve Rogers' Captain America dies, and Bucky not only triumphantly returns as a hero, but actually becomes Captain America. And even after they resurrected Steve Rogers, Bucky continued to be Captain America for quite some time, and it was really cool. It was fun. I think there's an inherent drama to the idea of losing someone and having them come back as something profoundly twisted, and then watching that person find themselves, and in the movie version of Bucky, finding their humanity again and trying to turn themselves around. Someone who started out as a sidekick was brainwashed into a villain and became a hero. That's why James Buchanan Barnes is my favorite Marvel superhero. From all of us here at the Fifth Avenue Studio, keep on Spockin' in the free world.